History
as they
of the
fought over
brand
one set of belts
split.
and one set of spots in the pecking order. But on two separate occasions now, first starting in
Yeah, the stuff is looking good, bro. Damn. Stefan is looking
2002,
fire.
and because of this, everyone was able to intermingle with one another as they fought over one set of belts and one set of spots in the pecking order. But on two separate occasions now, first starting in
yo, like, yeah, let me chill out.
2002, and then again starting in 2016, there has been a split in the locker room, with half of the people becoming Raw
Yeah, I'm sad. It's funny because nowadays, bro, with the brand split, they don't do this. Like, even if they do it, they don't really do it because it's like literally a week later, everyone crosses brands or everyone's not in the same brand no more, and they will have like a shitty excuse like, "Oh, I'm the champ," or this and that, or like, "Oh, he's my friend, he can come," or blah blah blah. Like, stay in your lane, bro. Like, stay in your damn you're because they need. I guess if they feel like, oh, this brand is a little bit low in like audience or like watch time or whatever the case may be, they bring like a major player from the other brand to the roster and make it spicy, whatever. But like, no, bro. If you want to have a brand split, have a brand split and learn how to build both your brands. Like, they're not honoring the brand split, bro. Like,
exclusives, and the other half SmackDown.
like, oh my god, you know what's crazy? I wish that they did like, I forgot how they. I think they did it like years ago, of course. When with the Powerball, I guess the raffle, yeah. When they had like, us picked whoever is in the roster.
Exclusives. Why did this happen? How did it play out? And why did it get a second wind after it ended the first time? Well, that's exactly what we are going to be looking at right now in the entire history of WWE's brand split. Really,
the entire history of the brand split, yeah.
Wars of the mid to late 90s. That was the period when wrestling was at the hottest it had ever been in a mainstream sense. And a large part of the reason for this was because you had two powerhouses in both WWF and WCW competing with one another, with each having their own separate roster of stars. Hell, it was the intense competition that this situation created which motivated each side to put out some of their best television ever, as they knew if they didn't, the other league was going to leave them in the dust.
And you see, that's
I think they might bury Oba. I have a bad feeling about it.
I think they might bury Oba. I have a bad feeling about it. Me too. I'm not gonna lie. Cause what is he doing storyline with who again? Damn, what's his name? Kit Wilson. I guess it's like they don't want to like throw him, like how they already throwing Trick Williams to the major leagues already. So like I guess they're trying to build up Oba to where they used to do like to all the big guys, like how they build up like Ryback and with the beating up the skinny guys or the little guys, whatever the case may be. So I'm guessing they're taking that route, even though we already saw what Oba could do. So it's like all weird and stuff on television. Like, I guess because like people from Raw that watches Raw and SmackDown, they're not familiar with NXT. So am I. Like I don't watch NXT on a regular basis. I just watch clips, small clips at that. So I guess they want to like build up, what you want to call it, Oba's presence to where how he is in NXT, to where he just take out guys, stuff like that. So I don't think they're gonna bury him, but I think they're just gonna build him up slowly. You know what I mean? Which in my
opinion, if Oba were to have won the Rumble, I don't think it would have been that bad.
All right, so yeah, so exactly. So like, if Oba was to win the Rumble, right? Would it be weird? Would you think it would be weird for you, like, to see Oba just win out of nowhere? Especially if you're putting yourself in a situation like, if you're a consumer of a Raw and SmackDown who doesn't watch NXT, and be like, who is this guy? Why is he winning the Rumble? I never seen him for X, Y, and Z, or seen him how he is, like, in the Raw SmackDown. So it's gonna be looking weird, like he just win a Rumble out of nowhere. But you do have like some people that wins the championship on their first day on Raw and SmackDown, like Paige, when she won the Diva Championship. So other cases, and you know, it wouldn't be too weird because his physique alone stands like a good presence to like him to win a rumble wouldn't look so weird.
Well, you see how over Oba is on the main roster. Have you heard those humongous pops?
Yeah, I heard it Among Us pops. Yeah, of course. So like that's what I'm trying to say. Not everyone knows Oba, right? But not everyone knows Oba because everyone doesn't watch NXT. So like me and you, I know I don't watch NXT like that at all, but I know Oba like clips and stuff like that. So I know he's like capable of to win the Royal Rumble. But like if someone that's not consuming NXT at all, they can look at it like, why is he winning the Royal Rumble? Like who is he? Even though the commentator is building him up like to be like that guy, like he's him, but at the same time it's like it's gonna look weird to him just win the Rumble, you know? That's why they just have him like get the most eliminations or whatever the case may be. But they wouldn't like jump the gun so far to him to win the Royal Rumble. Not yet, at least. Give it like a year's
So once
top.
the Monday Night Wars came
Year's
to an end
top,
in early
bro.
2001,
He's
then
over.
after World Championship Wrestling went out of business, it caused things to get less exciting pretty quickly. As now, without a competitor breathing down.
But on that case, I don't know. I hope they don't bury Javon Evans. Cause you see how they doing with Trick. Trick is on a good spot right now, right? Oba, he's doing okay. He just came up obviously, but Javon Evans is like he's in like the mid card realm, tag team realm type of situation right now. And I don't know. Sometimes, and plus they're not even, bro. They're not even giving him promo like time. Like he just cut his mic. They cut the commercial breaks on his entrance, on his promo like segments and stuff like that. So it's like it's weird.
Their neck,
It's weird how you
WWF
treating Javon
started
Evans
to take
right
their
now.
foot off the gas. And this led to TV getting altogether less vital to watch as the months progressed. How would Vince McMahon...
And on top of that, what Kevin Nash said too. So I don't know if that's something to do with it. Like they want him to be like TV trained for like the big leagues because he's not even showing his segments on what you want to call it. They're not even showing his segments on TV. They're always cutting the commercial breaks. Like in Canada, you can see it or stuff like that, but like in the US, no.
deal with the reduced fan interest which happened as a result of such a thing? Well, initially, he tried to restart the war when he bought WCW outright and attempted to get them a new TV deal. Sadly, though, by then, that company was such damaged goods, no network
I
would
think
take
they
it
should
on.
have gave Hobbs time on SmackDown. He's too damn good to not do it.
I think she gave Hobbs time on SmackDown. He's too damn good to not do it. Who do you think is a matchup for Hobbs? Not no dream match. It's just like just a regular match. Like who do you think he can build a feud with? Because I don't know how his mic skill is. I'm not familiar with Hobbs at all. Like not so ever at all. So I don't know.
But if they
His physique is good, of course, but like storyline wise or mic wise, I don't know how he is at all.
it was never going to be real competition, as now both promotions were owned by the same person. Come on now, the fact that a WWF versus WCW battle could never live up to expectations when one person ruled over everything was made clear to see when the infamous invasion angle, which took place across much of 2001, flopped spectacularly. So once that whole storyline was mercifully put out to pasture at that year's Survivor Series pay-per-view,
Have
it
Hobbs
left
go up
fans with the
against
sense
Braun
that
Breaker
things were
BCS. He did get eliminated by Bronson.
Have Hobbs go against Braun Breaker because he did get eliminated by Bronson. Well, Braun Breaker's injured.
never going to be quite as good again, as true competition was now a thing of the past. But this wasn't the way Vince McMahon saw things. No, he still felt he could create an internal sense of competition within his own promotion, which would get things back to the way they'd been during the late 90s once more. How would he do
Braun
this?
Breaker is injured, bro.
Well, in early
Shake
2002,
my head.
the boss would start making plans for a brand split, a move which would divide his roster into two separate, smaller ones, with half being exclusive to Raw and the other half being exclusive to SmackDown. Yes, the idea here, at least initially, was that each side would be truly autonomous, with them having completely different creative teams and no crossover with one another, something which would motivate them to try and score higher ratings than their competitor. Of course,
See, nowadays they're breaking the rules. They're crossing brands. Even though it's supposed to be a brand split, like, what?
it wasn't just an attempt to recreate the Monday Night Wars which led to Vince doing this, though. No, after much of the WCW and ECW rosters had signed with WWE following the fall of those promotions, there was also now a sense that there were too many people there overall. Seriously, given the size of the locker room in 2002, it would have been impossible for many up-and-comers to break into the main event scene if everything was limited to just one collective group. No, that just wasn't realistic. But if things
I guess true, cause TV time.
were split in two, with half the big stars being on one show and half being on the other, it would open up more space for people to break through that glass ceiling. Hell, if nothing else, it would allow them more TV time to develop, as now rather than
If it's
having to
split.
find space for someone like Stone Cold Steve
Yeah, cause now everyone's catering to one person and relying on one person to drive the show. Especially they're transferring these people to different brands. Back then it was split, so like they could have a chance to build up stars at itself. Like now, back then it was like this. They're building both brands. Now it was like just together, and they picking like what 4 people, 5 people to build up,
Austin or The Rock on both Mondays
and they have like a whole roster.
and Thursdays.
No one get TV time. Even the champions don't even get TV time. That's crazy.
You only had to find space for them on one of these days. Obviously then, given how much it seemed like it was going to be a clear benefit to the promotion overall, almost everyone who worked there was happy with the prospect of the brand split. And that meant when it officially started on the March 25th, 2002 episode of Raw, excitement was high. How did things get kicked off here? Well, with a draft, of course. That's right. As part of the ongoing storyline of the time, co-owners of WWE, Vince McMahon and Ric Flair, would take control of the blue and red brands respectively, and would, over the course of the 2 hours which followed, take turns drafting performers until each side had a starting roster of 10, which would then be added to and rounded out later via a random lottery. So it was then that once things were over, SmackDown would be the exclusive home of names like The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Kurt Angle, and Edge. All while Raw was the
So
only
much
place
headaches.
you'd be able to see performers such as The Undertaker, Kane, the NWO, and Lita going forward. What about others such as Steve Austin and Triple H? Well, for the Rattlesnake's part, he'd initially be a free agent, though he would eventually sign with Ric Flair's show. And as for Triple H, well, as he was the undisputed champion at the time, it meant he'd be able to travel between shows as and when he chose, defending the top prize on each one, much in the same way the NWA World's Champion had traveled all around the territory circuit defending their gold back in the day. Yes, at least at first, there was still an attempt to keep the importance of the world title by having there be only one belt. But as those early months went on, it became clear this was a hindrance to the company as, whenever the champion was involved in a program on one brand for a month or two, it hurt the drawing power of the other. So it was then that after Brock Lesnar won the undisputed title from The Rock at SummerSlam in August of 2002, he'd be signed to SmackDown exclusively and would there see his gold be renamed the WWE title. Why was it no longer being called the Undisputed title? Well, because now the question of who the real champion was in dispute again, as on the September 2nd episode of Raw that year, Triple H was awarded the new World Heavyweight title by then General Manager of the Red Brand, Eric Bischoff, with this serving as the top prize on that show going forward. And so, like that then, now with two world titles there, things were truly separate between each show, and as it happened, couple of years, as with Eazy-E running the day-to-day of the Red Brand.
Damn.
And Stephanie McMahon doing the same over on the Blue Brand, each side would largely remain on their own islands. Hell, we wouldn't even get another draft until 2004, at which point some moves were made in order to freshen things up. Moves such as Edge going to Raw and Rob Van Dam going to SmackDown. The only time the two sides would come together outside of that, in fact, would be on one of the big four pay-per-views, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. And even then, actual inter-brand matches remained incredibly rare here, with the first big one not occurring until WrestleMania 21 in April of 2005, when Raw's Shawn Michaels battled it out with SmackDown's Kurt Angle. Was this all serving its original purpose of making things more exciting again, as it had been during the Monday Night Wars? Well, yes and no. And we say that because while SmackDown was largely excellent here while it was being creatively led by Paul Heyman, Raw often suffered under the weight of the Reign of Terror. That's right, this was the period where, as the SmackDown 6 were usually killing it over on Thursday nights, putting out some truly great TV on a regular basis, Monday nights were being suffocated by Triple H's 3-year-long attempt to turn himself into a modern-day Harley Race at the expense of everyone else on the roster. And that wasn't the only reason why the brand split wasn't a true success when it came to creating legitimate competition again, as, even if there were different creative teams for each show, the guy who was ultimately in charge of both remained Vince McMahon. So for that reason, everything was being written to serve him. As you would expect then, whether it was Raw or SmackDown, it all ultimately ended up being the boss's vision by the time all was said and done. So for fans, there was never really a need to choose one show over the other in the same way that people had chosen a side between WWF and WCW. Still, even if this was the case, each brand had enough of its own identity during those early days that the idea was still seen as worthwhile overall. And on top of that, it did allow opportunities for a lot of up-and-coming talent to break through that glass ceiling in a way they probably wouldn't have otherwise. We're talking about names like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and JBL, just to name a few here. Hell, come the mid-2000s, after names like Steve Austin, The Rock, and Brock Lesnar had all left the company, it allowed for two new aces to, at first anyway, appear on equal footing, with Dave Bautista being the undisputed top dog of Raw, and John Cena being the clear superstar of SmackDown. Unfortunately, though, it would also be around this time that cracks started to form in the concept. What were these cracks? Well, with drafts now becoming an annual occurrence, some performers were moving back and forth on a pretty regular basis. And even when drafts weren't taking place, there were an increasing number of cases where wrestlers were appearing on opposing brands anyway, with this starting to
yeah, it's just so dumb. Like, come on, bro.
water down the idea that these were two separate
and this got it got worse and worse throughout the years too.
rosters who were at war with one another for ratings supremacy. No, once SmackDown ace John Cena went to Raw in the spring of 2005, and Raw ace Batista jumped over to Thursday nights in response, the idea that anyone was loyal to any particular show began going out the window. How would WWE respond to the feeling that the edge was being taken away from the brand split as a consequence of this? Well, by
Yo, what's good, Zion? Well, I can't hear you.
adding a third Renegade one. Yes, it was after Vince McMahon found a lot of success reviving Extreme Championship Wrestling for the
How's your day, bro? How's your day, bro?
On June 12, 2005, that a year later, he'd bring it back to life again as a full weekly TV show, with this serving as the third brand of WWE going forward.
ECW.
That said, even in those early days, WWE CW would never be treated as something which was on the same level as a Raw or a SmackDown. No, much like the original ECW had been a few rungs below WWF and WCW in terms of power back
Appreciate
in the 90s,
it, bro.
here the third show would
tight.
very much feel lesser, much in the way NXT feels
A little
today
mad
in
over it, but it's
comparison to
alright.
what takes place on Monday and Friday nights. As you would expect then, this did little to turn around the growing sentiment that the brand split was starting to grow a little long in the tooth. Sure, B-show level pay-per-views like Backlash and No Mercy would remain exclusive to one particular roster for a while, but come the spring of 2007, even that would be over, and from there on in, all big shows would see all three rosters be involved. And this coincided with falling ratings on Raw, SmackDown, and ECW, as once again, fan interest started to fall to scary levels. How would WWE respond to these falling ratings? Well, by further diluting the idea of a brand split by trying to hotshot big moments when opposing roster members began appearing on the other show with even more frequency, often with there being no kayfabe explanation given as to why this was happening.
Exactly, this is dumb, bro.
So bad would things get, in fact, as the 2000s were drawing to a close, it felt like Vince McMahon himself was starting to lose interest in the idea of there being multiple brands within his company. And this could be seen very clearly in the way Raw became the only show which mattered around then.
Yeah, back then, Brawl was like the main. It's funny because, like, now you're saying this, Raw back then was like the main brand everyone was tuning into. Like, for sure, the flagship show. For sure. And I think until like 2020, SmackDown, like literally 2020, SmackDown was like the flagship show up until I think up until Roman lost the championship. Honestly,
Yes, SmackDown still would technically have its own roster here, but you could have easily forgotten that was the case after a while, as Blue Brand wrestler appearances on Monday nights was so commonplace, they may as well have had a lifetime pass to Raw. Hell, even the way the world titles were booked left no doubt as to what the real focus was, as
Jack
Raw's
Swagger.
WWE title was almost always featured in main
Jack
events, being
Swagger.
battled over by the likes of John Cena, Triple H, and more, all while SmackDown's World Heavyweight title became a glorified mid-card prize to
exactly, bro. It's like it was like a mid card brand SmackDown back then, bro.
be held by the likes of Alberto Del Rio, Jack Swagger, and the Great Khali, often in curtain-jerking bouts. And that would all create a bit of a death spiral for the show, which, during the SmackDown 6 days, had so famously been the jewel in WWE's crown, to the point that as the new decade dawned, it had pretty much been reduced to being a recap show for Raw.
That's low-key going on still to this day, though. The only recaps we had literally on another show.
That's right, if you wanted to see anything of importance take place, you would have to tune in on
On
Monday
Raw.
nights.
Yep.
And if you wanted to see nothing but
Filler, comedy, whatever, SmackDown.
material and video packages from the bigger show, well, there was a reason. The general sentiment here was that if it happened on SmackDown, it didn't happen.
That was a perfect breakdown he just did. That's a perfect scenario, a perfect break. Like,
What was happening with WWE CW around that point? Well, that would be in even worse shape. And this would all lead to a situation where the plug would be pulled on WWE CW outright in February of 2010, with that returning things back to there just being two rosters once more. Sort of. And we say that because it wouldn't be long after this that it was announced by WWE
NXT?
that SmackDown wrestlers would be appearing on Raw full-time going forward. Needless to say then, this effectively ended the first brand split. Sure, it would technically limp on for a little while longer yet, but no one gave it any thought as the 2010s got into full swing. And this became even more true when, only a couple of years after that, Raw roster members also became full-time for SmackDown, though this was merely a symbolic gesture, as by now no one of any importance would be seen dead appearing on the Blue Brand. That's right, while it had started out strong and had seen some pretty good points during the years which followed, in the end, the WWE brand split had gone out with less of a bang and more of a whimper. All that was left then was for something to be done about the two world titles the promotion had on their books. After all, there was no need for such a thing anymore if everyone was back under the same roof. So it was that at the TLC Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view on December 15th, 2013, then WWE Champion Randy Orton would challenge then World Heavyweight Champion John Cena in a winner-takes-all ladder match to unify both prizes. Who won this one? Well, that would be the Viper, with this making him the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And as the months and years went on from there, things settled back into the way they'd been prior to 2002. But this wouldn't be the end of the brand split forever. No, as time progressed, fan nostalgia for the concept would see people constantly ask for it to return. And WWE would have a desire to do that themselves after a while as it happened, because by 2016, SmackDown had become so inconsequential it could have easily been canceled, and few would have noticed the difference. So, in an attempt to make the Blue Brand feel valuable once more then, it would be in the summer of that year that the company brought back the brand split for a second go-around, with this coinciding with SmackDown going live on the USA.
SmackDown Live. They was desperate to get SmackDown to like oomph. They literally named it SmackDown Live.
Network on Friday nights. What was the kayfabe reason for the concept returning here? Well, after Shane McMahon had returned to WWE that year after a lengthy absence, he'd started claiming he could do a better job of running the show than his sister and his brother-in-law had been doing prior to this. And willing to give his son a chance to prove himself, Vince McMahon had at that point split things up again, with him deciding going forward that Shane would serve as the commissioner of the Blue Brand, all while Stephanie would be filling the same role over on the Red Brand. All that was left then was for rosters would be formally split again. And that happened on the July 19th episode of SmackDown. How did this draft go? Well, like with the first one a decade and a half ago, SmackDown in many ways came out the winner. And the reason we say this is because, with general manager Daniel Bryan by his side, Shane McMahon would be able to assemble an initial roster made up of names like John Cena, Randy Orton, Becky Lynch, Bray Wyatt, and most importantly of all, then WWE Champion Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, Dean was over. Like, that's, bro.
Yes,
gosh.
Once again, the top prize in WWE was exclusive
Richard
to the
Felix,
Blu-ray.
yeah.
So while the Raw management team of Stephanie McMahon and her general
I think I was wrong. I think, well,
manager Mick Foley would be able to snag an impressive roster of their own.
Is the Masked
one
Man
made up
really
of names
Grayson
such as
Waller?
Seth Rollins,
is the Masked Man really Grayson Waller? I don't know. Honestly, people just saying that because of the laugh, smile, like similarities, but it could be him in the Masked Man. But like, is he really the Masked Man? You know what I mean? Like, he could probably be the body for it, but like when they try to reveal the person, it'd be a completely different person. But honestly, I wouldn't even know. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I wouldn't. I had no guesses. I ain't gonna lie. I have no guesses at all.
Roman Reigns, Charlotte
Like,
Flair,
no way
Sasha Banks, and
WWE
Chris
has big
Jericho.
plans for Grayson Waller.
That's what I'm trying to say. I guess the only reason why I'm thinking, because maybe, alright, boom, look. Let me sit up. Look, I think the only reason it's valid is if this was an inside job for
Like,
when.
I wouldn't mind it because they need to build up more stars.
That's true. But look, I feel like the only reason why this could be valid if it was Grayson Waller is because if Seth Rollins, right, his plan, you know, his vision is to where Austin Theory is just a undercover, like an inside man, to where he has Austin Theory, his partner, his old partner, what was it called? 8 Town Down Under, Grayson Waller, and then help him with Seth Rollins. Like, you know, that's the little collective right there. Like, so Seth is using Austin as an inside man, and of course Austin has
You're right.
Grayson Waller. That's the only reason, or only thing that will make sense if it was Grayson Waller. Anything else, I'm lost. I'm
I always
lost.
wanted Austin and
They
Grayson
didn't
to
have a
confront
world.
each other on screen. Since they broke up off screen.
It's funny because they didn't even really break up. They literally didn't even broke up off screen. Well, yeah, off screen, right? You said off screen. I thought you meant on screen. Yeah, it's weird because off screen they broke up, kinda, but on screen they didn't. Cause it wasn't really official. They were just arguing, but it wasn't really confirmed on screen. But off screen it was like kind of weird. It's still not even confirmed really. It was just throwing little jabs like they're still arguing, but it wasn't like
I know
that.
Grayson confirmed it on screen with Austin injured.
He did. Maybe he did. I don't know, but it's.
Champion on the men's side of the
But yeah,
equation.
that's what I said. Like,
And that was what led to the
it'll only make sense. It'll only make sense if it was Grayson. If it was Grayson. If it was aligned with, you know, Theory.
Yeah, he did in a backstage interview long ago.
He did? Okay. But yeah, like I said, it'll only make sense if it was Grayson.
He was basically saying how he didn't need Austin anymore.
I think I remember that. I'm not gonna lie.
creation of the Universal
Like
title
dissing
soon
him in a way.
thereafter, a title which would initially be worn by
Okay,
then
okay.
main roster newcomer Finn Balor. So now with there being 2 men's world titles again, and each locker room decided upon, it was left to both sides to go and try and prove they were better than the other. Who would come out on top during those early days? Well, again, like it
What's this video over?
I'm about to say it. Yeah, I forgot people joining in right now. This is the entire history of the brand split. Before that, I watched the best indie wrestler. I'm gonna upload that on my YouTube channel. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe over there, bro. I'm gonna start a Patreon too, so we can watch full on AEW matches and WWE. I gotta educate myself on that too. Yeah, so we can do that. But like, yeah, make sure you subscribe over there on
happened in
YouTube.
2002, it would be SmackDown who pulled out ahead of the gate by being a show which had a far better level of quality.
Speaking of AEW, Like I watched only one match in my entire life of AEW. I never watched a full show at all, but I watched one match. What was it again? John Moxley and Kenny Omega. 2019. That's the only match I watched for AEW. So it was a horror movie, bro.
Unfortunately, though, it wouldn't take long before a lot of the same old issues began to arise with the concept. As well, there was an attempt made to keep both rosters separate initially, with things like brand-specific PLEs even being brought back again. By the time a year had passed, the second brand split was already beginning to grow irrelevant. Why was that? Well, again, like with before, wrestlers frequently being drafted back and forth between shows became so commonplace, it became harder and harder to get the feeling that anyone was loyal to any particular
Man, this
roster.
version of the WWE
And as if that
Championship
wasn't
looked so much better with the black background.
Yeah. I should do. Okay, after this, I'm gonna see if I can find like all the titles. I'm gonna do a video on that too. Which title looks better? After this video,
even
bro,
outside
I'm
of
gonna see.
drafts, it was a regular occurrence to see performers just randomly show up on whatever night of the
But
week
the
they
black,
wanted
the
to
black.
for a certain point.
Honestly, I feel like I'm trying to remember.
I don't like the current Undisputed Championship design.
It grew. I'm not gonna lie. It grew on me. Like it grew on me. I'm not gonna lie. It grew on me. It depends who's
Like the gold background color.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The gold background color. It grew on me. At first I didn't like it, but it grew on me. It depends on who's holding it, to be honest with you, or the outfit too. Honestly,
Hell, kayfabe attempts to justify this.
with John
Yep,
Cena,
agreed.
yeah, with John Cena, it ain't look weird. But Cody Rhodes, it looked old. You know, Roman Reigns. They look. I'm trying to remember. They
The
look.
wild card rule.
Did he had it? Did he had? I think he did have the. Yeah, one after. Okay, it's after the two titles. They gave him that one gold.
I think the black makes it more suitable for most wrestlers.
Were outright mocked on screen by the
I
likes
think
of
so,
Kevin
too.
Owens. So if the
The
people
black
on
for
TV
sure.
weren't taking the whole thing seriously, how could any of the fans
I'm gonna see after this
watching be
video. I'm
expected
gonna
to?
look it
looked
up.
Great on
That
off.
said, even if the second
AJ.
brand split
On
was
AJ,
struggling
right?
in record time here, it wasn't like there weren't positives of the whole thing. After all,
Yeah, so it looked good on Drew too.
lead to SmackDown being able to act as the land of opportunity for a while there,
Seth
a
as
place
well.
which could elevate new top stars such as Becky
And
Lynch
Seth,
and Alexa
you're right.
Bliss. And while Raw didn't do as good of a job at building the next generation as its counterpart did, it did give us the initial rise of performers such as Finn Balor. Then, of course, there's the SmackDown effect. If the second brand split doesn't happen, there's no way the blue brand makes it to network TV in the form of Fox here. But even the positives of the brand split reveal.
But yeah, with this video, bro, the entire history of the brand split, basically, bro, they're just never committed to like both brands. Like they always put one other after the other. It's never like this, especially back then. And now it's like still continuing. Back then it was okay. It was better, but like I feel like the 2010s up until now is like it's never like in the middle. It's just a seesaw.
I miss how it used to be back in the day where it didn't matter.
Yeah, but because like I feel like with the brand split, at least they could create more superstars, or like not, because nowadays you have your champions not even on TV because you're building around one person on both brands. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes the U.S. champion is not even on screen for weeks, or the IC.
Yeah, champions don't feel like champions anymore.
Exactly, and that's dumb. Like, come on, like why?
Hunter doesn't book his champions well.
Yeah, like how are you supposed to feel for this champion, and they're not even a champion
Like at all.
It's like they bought it on WWE Shop.
Would not be enough to see it go undamaged during the lockdown, which happened in March of 2020. No,
Look, right here from 2020, bro. Okay, boom. From back then, around like 2000 something to 2016. Let's say
Like Io's reign
2016.
sucked. Dom's reign has felt flat. Stephanie's reign as well.
Io's reign sucked. I agree. Io's reign sucked. Don's reign. I'm a Dom fan, so I'm not gonna be biased. I'm gonna tell the real. I feel like Don's reign matches wise, he's putting in weight for the title, but it's not like a Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? At least he's putting a name.
And that's not Dom's fault either.
Yeah, at least Dom is not putting. He's not putting let's just say, at least he's making the title still relevant, like a name. Like, who's holding the title? Oh, it's Dom. Compared to, like, I forget.
I like
oh,
Dom,
EO's
but
one.
Hunter just doesn't do his champion service at all.
Exactly. Like, he's a good character. Like, even if he had the title or not, doesn't matter. But him holding the title, I know he's IC champion. I'm like, who's IC champion? Oh, it's Dom. But I will literally forget about Stephanie. I will literally forget about EO in a blink of an eye, because they're not. I don't know. It's not. They're not even bringing no weight to the title. You know. Because I know even though Dom don't defend it either, but you still know
who's
Dom.
the best current title holder? Melo?
I'm not gonna lie, I low-key forget. I think last week I forgot he was champ. For some reason I forgot he was champion. For some reason, I don't know why, but I forgot he champ. But the open challenge thing he's doing, phenomenal. I guess because like.
U.S. title, such a forgotten title.
But it's not. Alright.
Not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna lie. I think the problem is there's no storyline building around the titles. The mid card titles. That's the problem. Because even with Dom, IC title, it's still a storyline building around that. You know what I'm saying? But the U.S. title, it's not really a storyline building around it at all. You know? Especially not back then, too.
Agreed, hence why I think the open challenge kinda hurts it at the same time.
Yeah, because, like, who else is coming? And, you know, it's it's cool. I feel like the open challenges should happen to a certain extent. To where at least out of one person from the open
storylines and instead forces matches.
Yeah, I feel exactly. For example, I feel like the open challenge should have. Of course, you do it, but it should use as like a stepping stone or an anchor to build a storyline out of it. Like one match, Melo and I don't know, let's just say a random person. Let's just say Andrade. I know he's not in the company no more, but if they was to do that match, it could build a storyline out of it. Like, oh, he beat me. Let's build something like a feud or something to go crazy, blah blah. But it's not. Like, stop the whole challenge for that feud, but it's just kept going and going and going. It's not really. It's like a TV skit.
WWE did Andrade so dirty, man.
Yeah, because they was cooking with that storyline. I'm not gonna lie, they was cooking with that storyline. And then I remember they did something flat around it, and then they tried to pick it back up again.
They fumbled him twice.
Yep.
Like with all wrestling shows, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT
That's WWE for you,
suffer
bro.
here, as now, for the foreseeable future, no fans were going to be allowed to attend the shows. What did that mean for the idea of brand-specific rosters?
But yeah, this time around, I feel like 2020 and up, SmackDown was like the flagship show. At least
just like how I feel they're fumbling Alistair and Rusev.
At least before Cody, took the championship from Roman. I mean, well, at least when Cody took the championship from Roman, it's like SmackDown's up. I think SmackDown's still up though. Be like the flagship show. Just like how I feel they're fumbling Alistair and Rusev. I feel bad. For Alistair and Rusev. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm scared. I don't want them to go, bro. I don't. Cause they just got here back. They could really cook. They just don't want to cook. They really could cook with these two people, bro. They can, bro, and it's not even funny, bro. Rusev. Especially they're getting new people in NXT now. Come on. What's good, Naya?
Specifically, well, it meant that while the concept
it just
would
sucks
still
because the
technically
crowd
be
doesn't care for Rusev.
Rusev. It just sucks because the crowd doesn't care for Rusev. Yeah, no. It's like, I don't know. As soon as he got here, I'm not gonna say as soon as he got here, but at least like a few weeks, he just became another comedy act again. But they try to like put like a little serious tone into him. you know, but it's still like a comedy act. They're not putting no. I thought he was gonna come like a beast, like a whole new.
He doesn't really get a pop.
Nah, he don't.
Active, the rules would get looser than ever. As with WWE having to try and keep ratings up any way they could, big-name Raw wrestlers would appear on SmackDown and vice versa, with seemingly no rhyme or reason. And this would continue to be a problem once lockdown ended in mid-2021 and fans were allowed back in attendance at
Just
shows
put him
again.
in a feud with Oba.
Why was this? Well, because now that
Just put him in a feud with Oba. That would cook. Yeah, that would cook. That would cook. For sure.
the genie had been let out of the bottle, and the
For
USA
sure.
Network and Fox were happy with having all the big stars being on both of their shows, it was very hard to go.
It just sucks because, like, I feel like give it like about a few months or two, he might get released again because they don't know what to do with them. But this is exactly what I'm trying to say though. Like they don't even care. Like even with Jade had a championship for how long, and she had a first title defense
That
like
would
what
suck,
last
man.
week. You know what I'm saying?
Jade's reign, bro.
And she, I could tell she's
Easily the worst.
she's okay as a heel. I could see it. I feel like she's a better heel than a face. I'm not aware of Jade and AEW at all. I never knew of Jade. I mean, I know of her. I'm a wrestling fan, so I'm gonna know the names, but I never watched like the wrestling itself or the program or the storylines what she did in the past, AEW, etc., etc. But when she was a face in
Heel
WWE.
work isn't great in WWE like it was in AEW.
Okay, so she's a good heel. Okay, cool.
It feels really forced
Forced?
in WWE.
Yeah. It feels forced. But the thing is, it only feels forced too because she doesn't really have another woman, another body to have like a evenly match. You know, and it's not like she's like a Nia Jax where she just came like taking out the whole women's roster who's in the fear. Like I don't know, it just feels off. Like Naomi heels work, phenomenal. It works because she could fight anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Call up Sol Ruka and Lola at this point.
Yeah, I think So Ruka could help. So Ruka could help, Jade elevate her heel work for sure. Because So Ruka's like a good girl. You know what I'm saying? So Ruka's like a good girl, and I feel like Jade and So Ruka could like, good
They
and
need
bad.
baby faces.
Yeah, for Jade, because I feel like right now the baby faces for Jade could easily get washed. At least with So Ruka, it could be like a fighting chance. What's good, Maggie?
Backwards again. So it was then that after Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 38 to win both the Raw and SmackDown World titles, in the process becoming the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, the dividing lines between the shows got even blurrier, as the Bloodline in particular often made multiple appearances
The Bloodline,
a week
bro.
on each of the main roster shows.
They did
That
so
said,
much for this
even if
company,
he
bro.
was now the world champion on Raw too, the fact that Roman was still technically a
Literally, why the WWE Netflix deal happened, bro? Point blank simple.
SmackDown roster member here.
Like they literally got smacked. They got the brand SmackDown, the company WWE, over. Cause no one was not tuning into SmackDown, bro.
Not gonna lie, Roman might look so good with the big gold belt if he wins it versus Punk.
Ooh, it would.
Left the red brand.
It would. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like the WWE belt will look better. Of course, it just fits him better. But the world, it won't look bad with the world title.
The vast majority of the Tribal Chief's increasingly rare appearances were happening on the other show. So
Even he made this damn blue belt look fire. Like I don't know, his presence, the aura. I don't know.
Tribal Chief's increasingly rare appearances were happening on the other show. So feeling like they needed a full-time champ who could truly represent their brand, they decided to bring back the old World Heavyweight title in April of 2023, with this version of the belt, while looking very similar and having the same name, technically representing the start of an all-new lineage separate from the original. As to who would be the first person to hold that strap, well, that would be Seth Rollins, with him treating it more like a workhorse title, one which was distinct from the by then rarely defended Hollywood prize being held by his former Shield brother. Would this help to revive the brand split again? Maybe a little. But to be honest, by now it was going to take a lot more to make it feel as vital as it had back in 2002, or even as important as it had briefly seemed back in 2016. And that was clear when even more performers seemed to move back and forth between Raw and SmackDown at will, as Triple H fully took over the book once Vince McMahon was ousted from the promotion in full. Yes, while the game had done creatively during the early to mid 2020s, one thing he'd never been able to do was make the divide between Raw and SmackDown feel any more real. That said, unlike the darkest days of the original incarnation of the concept back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, at least it's no longer the case that SmackDown is a completely irrelevant show anymore. Hell, it remains the main home of acts like Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, probably the two biggest stars in the entire company.
On SmackDown.
NXT has long since returned to being a developmental brand several rungs below the red and blue brands. It's now
Ava gone, bro.
Developmental brand several rungs
yeah, Ava's gone, chat.
Below the red and
What's
blue
your
brands,
thoughts on SmackDown right now?
Like I said, it's the flagship show now. Like, everyone's tuning into SmackDown right now compared to Raw. The only I'm not gonna lie. Hold on, chat. Hold on, chat. My bad. Y'all can see me? Y'all can hear me? Testing. Does something just happen on my live?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my fault. What about to say again? What's your thoughts on SmackDown right now? Like I said, this is like the flagship show, bro. Right now, before it was Raw, everybody was tuning into Raw. Now everyone's tuning into SmackDown. Well, before Roman Reigns got dethroned. When Roman Reigns was active with the bloodline, the championships, everyone was tuning into SmackDown, bro. It was cooking.
Has been cooking.
Yeah. But the reason why I'm not gonna lie, bro, the only reason why I tuned to Raw, bro, is the Judgment Day. Literally, that's it. The Judgment Day got me hooked. Like Dom, the Judgment Day.
It wasn't doing so hot.
Yeah, exactly. SmackDown wasn't doing so hot. Now it got elevated. And it's crazy because it's still linked to the bloodline because Cody Rhodes and, even though he's panning away from that, it's still linked, But I only tune into Raw right now because of the Judgment Day, bro.
Raw is better with Liv involved, I am telling you.
Exactly, bro. Liv, Dom, Raquel, Finn, JD, McDonough. That's literally why I tuned into to WWE Raw, bro.
Not alone in being at that level of the WWE hierarchy. No, while they're not given much attention in the grand scheme of things, shows like Evolve and TNA have now become feeder systems for NXT in many ways, with this allowing them to, in some sense, serve as fourth and fifth brands within WWE's brand extension. The only question left is, will this be enough to see it continue on going forward? After all, we all know that at a certain point during the early 2010s, the lack of clear delineations between the brands led to the original split being dropped. So with those lines being pretty blurry again today, there's every chance we could see the rosters being fully merged into one again at some point in the not too distant future. Or who knows, maybe the opposite happens and WWE decides to go all in on the concept again, once more fully separating the locker rooms and making the brand split feel like an actual split. Whatever happens though, even if this is the start of a new era for it, or if we're in the latter days of its second incarnation as we speak, one thing is for sure, and that is that the brand split will always be remembered as something which completely changed the makeup of WWE forever, right at a time they needed to shake up the most. So for this reason alone, it'll always have an important place in the company's history.
W Andy, bro. Well, that was the entire history of the brand split, chat. Bro, like I said, SmackDown was doing. I'm happy that